Some movies begin with danger, but Wild Child begins with chaos of a very different kind. This is the story of a girl who thinks rules are the enemy, consequences are optional, and growing up is something other people do. Then one reckless stunt sends her across the world to a strict English boarding school where the hairstyles are neat, the uniforms are stiff, and rebellion suddenly has real limits. What starts as a culture clash turns into a story about grief, friendship, love, and learning that changing your life does not always mean losing yourself. The movie opens in sunny Malibu, where Poppy Moore lives like the queen of her own private universe. She is rich, spoiled, stylish, loud, and completely convinced that the world should move around her. Her father, Jerry Moore, is wealthy and exhausted. He loves his daughter, but he has no idea how to control her anymore. Ever since the death of Poppy Mother, the two of them have been drifting in different directions. Poppy covers pain with attitude, parties, and non-stop drama, while Jerry keeps hoping she will somehow grow out of it. Instead, she gets worse. Poppy throws a wild beach party at their house while her father is away, and the whole thing spirals into disaster. The place is wrecked, strangers are everywhere, and in one of her most careless moments, she lets a group of boys drag her father's prized car into the pool. That is the final straw. Jerry realizes that grounding her or giving another lecture will do absolutely nothing, so he makes a choice that changes everything. He sends Poppy to Abbey Mount, a strict boarding school in England that once shaped her late mother into the woman she became. Poppy has no say in this. One minute she is asleep in Malibu, and the next she wakes up on a plane headed for a country she does not want to see, toward a school she definitely does not want to attend. The shock hits immediately. England is cold, gray, formal, and filled with rules. Abbey Mount feels like the exact opposite of her old life. There are uniforms, schedules, curfews, and a headmistress named Mrs. Kingsley who seems to take one look at Poppy and instantly understand the problem standing in front of her. Mrs. Kingsley runs the school with steel calm. She does not shout much because she does not need to. She has seen girls like Poppy before, girls who arrive convinced they are too special to be changed. Poppy, of course, is not interested in adjusting. She walks in acting like the whole place is beneath her. She insults the food, complains about the rooms, and stares at the other girls as if they are part of some strange social experiment she never agreed to join. Her new roommates are quick to dislike her. Kate, Drippy, Josie, Kiki, and Jennifer have been living under the same rules for years, and while they are not perfect, they know how Abbey Mount works. Poppy storms into their space with designer luggage, sharp opinions, and zero respect for their routines. She criticizes their clothes, mocks their habits, and assumes they should either admire her or get out of her way. That goes over exactly as badly as you would expect. From the start, Poppy decides that the only goal is escape. She does not want to fit in. She wants to get expelled. That plan sounds simple in her head. If she can cause enough trouble, the school will send her straight back to California. So she begins sabotaging everything around her. She pulls pranks, breaks dress code, disrupts lessons, and keeps searching for the fastest possible route out. At first, these efforts only make life worse for her. The first major shift in the story comes when Poppy realizes this school is harder to break than she expected. Abbey Mount has systems for everything, and Mrs. Kingsley refuses to give her the dramatic reaction she wants. Instead of exploding, the headmistress simply hands out consequences and waits. That drives Poppy crazy. She is used to attention, and here attention has to be earned in a completely different way. At the same time, the other girls slowly stop seeing her as just a spoiled nightmare and start seeing something else underneath. Poppy is ridiculous, yes, but she is also funny, fearless, and deeply lonely. She misses her old life even though she acts like she hates everyone in it. Little by little, her roommates start letting her into their world. They teach her how to survive the school, how to manage the uniform, and how to navigate the weird traditions that make Abbey Mount feel like its own separate country. One of the most important things that happens is Poppy discovering the game of lacrosse. Back in California, she never had to work as part of a team. At Abbey Mount, sports matter, discipline matters, and effort matters. At first, she resists all of it, but there is something about the speed and aggression of the game that finally clicks with her. It gives her a place to put her energy, and for the first time at school, she is not just performing rebellion. She is actually participating in something. While all of this is happening, Poppy also notices Freddie Kingsley, the son of the headmistress. Freddie is charming, kind, and exactly the kind of boy who becomes very interesting when he seems slightly out of reach. Their connection begins with glances, awkward meetings, and the kind of secret excitement that boarding schools seem designed to intensify. Freddie is not just a love interest for the story. He represents something new for Poppy. He likes her when she is not the center of a Malibu party. He sees her in a place where she has no natural power, and that makes the connection feel real in a way she is not used to. As Poppy and Freddie get closer, the girls begin to trust her more too. The best scenes in the middle of the movie come from this growing friendship. Poppy helps transform their look, gives them confidence, and brings some chaos into their orderly world in a fun way instead of a destructive one. In return, they show her how to be part of something bigger than herself. The friendship group becomes the emotional core of the story, because it is the first real family Poppy has had since losing her mother. Of course, Poppy still has old habits, and that means trouble is never far away. Her biggest problem is that she still thinks she can manage every situation with charm, style, or reckless confidence. That backfires when she pushes too far with Freddie and gets caught in a compromising situation. Mrs. Kingsley is furious, not just because of the rule breaking, but because it involves her son. The bond Poppy was slowly building with the school is suddenly in danger of collapsing. There is also a rival student, Harriet, who represents the polished, rule-following ideal of Abbey Mount. Harriet is not entirely cruel, but she is competitive, judgmental, and very aware that Poppy's presence disrupts the order she values. Their conflict adds pressure because Harriet is the kind of girl who knows how to follow the system and use it against someone who does not. When Poppy slips, Harriet is usually right there to make things worse. One of the smartest things the movie does is let Poppy fail more than once. She does not become a better person overnight. She keeps messing up. She lies, reacts badly, and sometimes hurts people who are genuinely trying to help her. That is what makes her growth feel believable. Beneath all the fashion, comedy, and boarding school drama, Wild Child is really about a girl learning that grief does not give her permission to burn down everything around her. That grief becomes explicit in one of the movie's most emotional turns. Poppy finally opens up about her mother. It becomes clear that much of her behavior has been a long tantrum against pain. Her mother was the person who anchored her, and after losing her, Poppy kept acting out because chaos felt easier than vulnerability. Coming to England forces her into the exact space her mother once occupied, and that makes the loss impossible to avoid. It is not just a school anymore. It is a place full of proof that her mother had a life and identity before being only mom. The relationship with her father changes too, even from a distance. Early in the movie, Poppy treats Jerry like an obstacle. Over time, she begins to understand that he is grieving too, and that sending her away was not an act of cruelty. It was desperation mixed with hope. He wanted her somewhere that might give her structure and maybe reconnect her to the mother she lost. That does not make the separation easy, but it gives it meaning. By the final stretch, Poppy is no longer trying to get expelled. In fact, she has started to care deeply about staying. She wants her friends. She wants the team. She wants the life she said she hated. That change matters because it raises the stakes. Now when trouble comes, it can actually cost her something she values. The climax centers around the school competition and the fear that Poppy will lose everything she has built. Her old habits, her feelings for Freddie, and the rules she once mocked all collide at once. But instead of running from responsibility, she finally steps up. She apologizes where she needs to, takes ownership of what she has done, and fights for her place at Abbey Mount not as the entitled girl who arrived from Malibu, but as someone who has earned the right to belong. The final lacrosse match becomes the perfect setting for that payoff. Earlier in the story, Poppy treated everything like a performance. Now she has to work for a team. The game is not just about scoring, it is about trust, timing, and sacrifice. When she plays, she is no longer trying to stand above everyone else. She is playing with them. That shift captures her entire arc better than any speech could. Her friendship with the girls is fully real by this point. They are no longer just roommates she had to tolerate. They are her people. They have fought with her, laughed with her, and changed with her. Even Mrs. Kingsley softens, not by becoming sentimental, but by recognizing that Poppy has genuinely grown. The strict headmistress never wanted obedience for its own sake. She wanted character, and Poppy finally starts showing it. The ending gives Poppy a reward that actually matters. She does not simply get back the old life she had, she gets a better one. She keeps her glamour, her confidence, and her boldness, but those qualities are no longer weapons aimed at everyone around her. They become part of a fuller version of who she is. She can still be dramatic and stylish and loud, but now there is warmth underneath it. Wild Child works because it understands that transformation is more interesting when it keeps the spark of the person who changed. Poppy does not become quiet, plain, or obedient. She becomes honest. She learns discipline without losing personality. She learns friendship without giving up individuality. She learns that love is not just attention, and that family can survive grief if people are brave enough to stop hiding inside anger. By the end, the movie is not just about a spoiled American girl surviving an English boarding school. It is about a girl finding the part of herself that grief had buried and discovering that growing up does not mean becoming someone else. It means finally becoming someone real. And when Poppy smiles at the life she once tried so hard to escape, the story lands on a simple truth. Sometimes the place that feels like punishment at first turns out to be exactly where you were meant to begin again.